How is it week 4 already, Drew? I think I said that too quick. It probably cut it off. How is it week 4 in the NFL already?
I don't know.
How is my team 1-2 and already mathematically eliminated from the playoffs?
Oh, because that's the real life.
Oh, welcome into Sports Around the Bar, where, again, we are glad to have you around, and we're glad to talk some NFL today. All NFL today. We are talking about Thursday night's game. We're talking about all the action coming up this week as well, at least up until the primetime games. So we hope to get your opinion. We hope to hear what you think is going on in all these games. We're kind of agreeing on a lot of these. No, not a spoiler, but maybe there's not quite as many good matchups in the NFL this week as there are most weeks.
Right. Yeah, there's definitely some good matchups, but, I mean, there's a lot of for sure wins, you would think. But, of course, it's the NFL, so who knows what could happen. What I'm really dreading is Jonathan showing up and telling us how great this Eagles team is. Man, more love to you, bro. Your team pulled it out. We were wrong. They showed up. But can you sit there and tell me that a 2-2 Eagles team is a lot better than a 3-1 Packers team right now?
Minus Devontae Adams, minus Jamal Williams. They had some pretty significant injuries on offense as well. I think the Eagles, I don't want to say they were fortunate that happened. I think they could have won the game even if Devontae Adams played.
They played well.
I think the odds of them winning go significantly down if Devontae Adams is in there for those last, almost the entire second half. So, again, I think that hurt the Packers. I hope he comes back. I know he had a toe injury. It could really slow them down while we're talking about this game because the Packers, to me, have one legitimate wide receiver in Devontae Adams, and he's amazing, right? He's borderline top 5 in the NFL.
Right.
People usually put him around 6, 7, 8. But I think when you look at the Packers, man, they need to have more depth at wide receiver. I was complaining about this through the whole offseason. They didn't do anything to address it.
Well,
you were like,
microphone.
Exactly. I just want to make sure everyone can hear us. They told me in the offseason, there's nothing going on in Green Bay. They don't need any more wide receivers. We kind of saw Green Bay stall out when it was all on Valdez-Scantling and Geronimo Allison and Jimmy Graham. They need Devontae Adams out there if they're going to be a playoff team.
Allison looked good. I know he only had like one drive where he had 2 catches, but they looked good. They looked really good. Chris, what's going on, man? He says the Redskins will turn it around. The defense won't give up 30 this week against the Giants. Bold words, huh? Bold words.
Well, we did see Daniel Jones play without Saquon Barkley for the majority of last game. It was like 70% of the snaps without him. And the offense still looked good for the Giants. They might give up 30 again, but I don't want to jump the gun here. I like where the Redskins are.
He says they're going to lose and Gruden will be gone. Do you believe after week 4 that Gruden will be gone as a Redskins?
Maybe in the mind of Dan Snyder, but do I think they fire him right away? No, I think it's still too early. Even if your team starts 0-4 or 1-3, have the Redskins won yet? They lost to the Bears. They lost to who else? The Cowboys, right? And this week they lost to.
So no, they've not won.
Yeah, so they're 0-3. Does 0-4? Do you fire your coach? Maybe. If you have like legitimate aspirations, I say sure, go ahead. Like if this was the Chiefs and they're 0-4 with like great players everywhere, you still don't fire Andy Reid. But if this is the Chargers and they're 0-4, maybe they think about firing Anthony Lynn.
Yeah.
I don't really see a team like Washington saying, man, we're 0-4. Firing our coach is really going to help us turn it around for this year, right? Maybe you wait till the end of the year.
It's a good possibility he might lose his job. Cody, what's going on? He says, wreck 'em Pats.
Do the Bills get exposed? We'll talk about that in a minute. Here we go again. Great AFC East football.
Martavius, good to see you, man. He says Falcons need this win. They needed that win last week, and they got it. Do they need another win?
They didn't get it. Colts won last week.
Okay, well,
they're 1-2.
You know I'm behind on my week because I was thinking the Eagles game.
Yep.
But anyways, do they need this win? Do they need to be up at
500? They both need it. We're not going to talk about this game just yet, but they both need it. Both teams sitting at 1-2. Both teams with powerhouse in their divisions like the Saints. I know they're going to miss Drew Brees for another few weeks, but that team eventually is going to turn it around. You're going to need to win some of these games. 1-3 for either one of these might be a death blow. That might be it for either one of these teams' playoff hopes. At the very least, winning the division's out the window if you're 1-3 and you have to try to run down the Texans or you have to try to run down the Saints, who might be able to steal a win or two here with Teddy Bridgewater.
Okay, Cody's saying not Pats. He said wreck 'em Pat.
Is he going for Pack? Like the Packers?
Maybe.
All right. We'll move on. Good to see you, though. Eddie says...
Mr. Holmes from Tech.
Patrick okay.
Mahomes.
All right. You got to be a little more specific. Gotcha now. All right.
We know what's going on. Or do we?
No idea. But Eddie says the Pack need to run the ball. 1st and goal on the 1, and you don't even try to run one time. Shake his head. Sorry for the F-bomb. I omitted it. Don't worry. Look, it's easy to criticize this, but what if it worked? If everyone worked, they'd be talking about how great they are. Not to mention, the Packers had like 15 rushing yards for the entire game, minus Aaron Rodgers, who actually had a good day rushing. Your running backs had no success from the 1 yard line. Are you trying to bully a defensive line like Philadelphia had on the 1 yard line and then have 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 2.5 or 3rd and 1 again?
Well, let's not forget their success had a duo of Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones. And when Jamal Williams went down, it obviously went one-sided on that spectrum. That's the reason why that run game went flat. I mean, I'm not going to take anything away from the Eagles. The Eagles won this game. I could sit there and pick part of the Eagles game. I can literally look at the first half and those 3 touchdowns. It was all on short field. It was all because of a great return, a fumble by Aaron Rodgers. I mean, these are things that you can sit there and pick on about the Eagles, but they won the game flat out and square. That's just plain and simple. It's W's a W. But when Jamal Williams went down, the Packs' rushing attack disappeared. That 1-2 punch is what they need, and that's what they've been winning these games on.
I don't think they have a lot of success even with Williams. I think it gets a little bit better.
It helps.
Yeah, it definitely helps.
And when that went away, it kind of like shook them a little bit in a sense.
Oh, and Justin says, do we know what pass interference is anymore? Because he doesn't think he does. It was interesting. They didn't call the pass interference foul on what I think was the worst one, which was beforehand where what's his name got mugged. I can't think of his name right now. You had the one bad one first, and then you had the ticky-tacky call that wasn't as bad that kind of came in, and they didn't reverse it. I think, again, with this game, man, what do these new rules even mean? The NFL has gone into, we're going to let you challenge calls. Wasn't that pretty clearly a call, in your opinion? I mean...
So, if we're talking about this is my God-honest opinion about it. It's the fact that it needs to be clear. Like, there's no question about it scenario. They've already ruined that in the sense that they're letting some of these rules kind of slide. I know the percentage is very high right now that when they throw the flag on challenging pass interference, it's not going to be overruled. It's really what's been called on the field. Everything that's so far, if it didn't get called on the field, it needs to be clear, 100% proof evidence that it was supposed to be called, and so far it has not. Now, anything that has been called and they challenged against it, it has stayed. So that's kind of just the best way for me to put it is it's kind of like the catch rule. It's no one really knows what a catch is anymore.
But you know when you see it.
But you know when you see it, and if it's called that it's a catch, even though it's clearly hitting the ground or not hitting the ground, you throw the flag, it doesn't matter. Whatever was called on the field, that's what it's going to be called afterwards. The refs so far have seemed like they don't want to sit there and say, hey, we were wrong. This is what it is. I'm not saying it's not a great rule put in place, but so far, the refs are not one to sit there and go, we made a mistake.
And on the last play where they had the interception, I believe that was pass interference. I think he got there early. He kind of like wrapped and chopped the arms a little bit, and then the ball kind of bounced up in the air. But I also think it's the right move by the refs that it wasn't so blatant that they called it right away the first time, even though that play is supposed to be reviewed.
Right.
I'm glad they didn't go back and say, that was pass interference, let's throw it out there. I think, again, you're opening a can of worms where they're going to start overanalyzing every scoring play, overanalyzing every play, and it's going to be impossible to play defense at that point. You're going to have pretty much every play in the 2 minutes that's now reviewable where they're looking for penalties. I don't think you can look for a penalty that's not called. I think they have to let that stuff go. You can't go retroactively throw a penalty on a play because you saw it on a replay. I don't agree with that at all. I think it was the right move to let that go. And I know it sucks for the Packers because that was pass interference, but it was also one of those calls that was marginal enough that on the field, real time, I probably wouldn't have thrown the flag if I was the ref.
Agreed. Ian, what's going on, man? He said Gruden gets fired and joins his brother in Oakland. Is that quick of a turnaround? And Steven, what's going on, man? Man, he is bringing up last week's stuff. He goes, what were you guys smoking when we said Carr played a good game last week? Laugh his butt off. He was awful. 114 yards through 3 quarters and an interception in the first half when you were driving the ball. Before you say anything more, Steven, and I don't know if you commented after this, if you sat there and took 3 out of the 4 quarters that Patrick Mahomes played against the Raiders defense, you would sit there and say Patrick Mahomes had a bad game. 1 quarter does change a lot of things in a lot of football games.
And more importantly, it was the 4th quarter. That's when you want your quarterback to really come alive.
Exactly.
So, was he the best all game long? No. But 240 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. It's not a bad line.
No.
Then again, I complain about my quarterback, who sucks and then builds up garbage time. But I kind of get where you're coming from on the reverse. Again, he finished pretty strongly. I'll take 240 yards and 2 touchdowns, but especially with where my team is at. We're going to talk about that in a minute, Martavius. With where my team is, 242 yards, not that bad of a day.
That being said, do I think that do I think that Derek Carr has a problem?
You just got him on the brain.
I do. It's a cereal box. Do I think Derek Carr has a problem in this offense, feeling comfortable? Is he making the right reads? Is he looking like he belongs there? I think you have a lot of question marks. I think you have every right to sit there and be frustrated with this guy. But at this point in time, who do you got to replace him? You got to stick with him. He is there for 16 games this season. Ride or die. You started out this season with Derek Carr as your guy. But we all knew, what's all been the talk about since John Gruden has been there, is how long will Derek Carr last? The only thing I want you to know and to think about is if Derek Carr goes and beats the Denver Bronco, guess what? He's going to play against you twice a year. And he's going to be dominant because he has a grudge against you. Derek Carr, as much as you might not want him to be your quarterback, he is a legitimate quarterback in this league. He just might not be in the right offense.
I'll give you Marcus for him straight up. I think that's a good point about Derek Carr. I 100% agree with you, but now we're finally getting to that decision point. Last year, contractually, they owed him too much guaranteed money to get rid of him from any standpoint of we're just going to trade him and a team's going to eat this contract for us. And the way Derek Carr has played, I don't think anyone's going to give you a significant draft pick to take him off your hands. So, they've almost been stuck at this point with the contract they signed with Derek Carr. Most of that's out the window. They're going to have a reasonable amount of dead cap from getting rid of him from now on, but it's going to be doable financially for the Raiders. This offseason is going to be the time that you get to question Derek Carr. I think the next 12 games get to be his tryout for, you need to keep me around, and here's why.
Jordan, what's going on, man? He says, we think the score between the Michigan State and Indiana tomorrow.
We did talk about it on the last show. I think Michigan State, this might be an overlooked game for them. I think Indiana's going to pull a steal. They beat good opponents. I think with Michigan State playing Ohio State next week, they may overlook this game thinking they're better than they are. And I'm going to say watch out for an upset like 28-26. Michigan State has been okay in spurts, but they've been really inconsistent. I don't really see them as that good of a team. I think Indiana might upset them because they're looking ahead to Ohio State the next week.
I'm just
sorry. I know you're a Sparty fan, but this is a dangerous week for you.
I'm trying to catch up with the comments here. Eddie says, "Got to try at least once. How that 4 straight passes work out for them? If the O-line can't get you 1 yard when it matters the most, then maybe they should rethink who their starting O-line is."
But you got to also know who you're going up against. I mean, if it's Seahawks versus Patriots in the Super Bowl, you can know, hey, we can bully with Marshawn Lynch. If it's Aaron Jones and my offensive line that's meant to protect Aaron Rodgers rather than run the football, going up against monsters in Philadelphia's D-line, maybe you can try it once or twice. But again, how much do you want to go throw a down away because you're outmatched? Do you want to play where the opponent has the advantage, or do you want to play where you have the advantage? We know that secondary's super weak. They just made a good play. Yeah. They made a good play at the right time, and it was bad luck. If the ball doesn't pop up like that, they get another try after that. Right. It's pretty, I think, simple to go back and when something doesn't work out, really criticize the coach. I mean, we do it to Pete Carroll all the time, but especially in this scenario, Green Bay has the advantage throwing the ball in this game. You have to throw it, I think, there.
Justin said the Eagles' D-line is straight up a stone wall. Check the numbers. 57 carries, 97 total yards, 2 or 3 touchdowns allowed on the ground. Nobody is running against them.
Yep, and we've known that. And then you go and look at the way they've been thrown on. I mean, Case Keenum threw 330 yards against the secondary. How do you attack the Eagles? You throw it through the air. I think that's the right move. They ran a quick slant. It was a great play. And again, it was pass interference, in my opinion. He hit him about just long enough before the ball got there. I don't even want to say a second. It's like a split second before that reasonably you could say it was pass interference. They didn't call it, but without that, I don't know that the Eagles win the game.
Just because it's a new comment. Cody, thank you so much for the comment. He says, you guys got to get bigger. You all are great. Cody, we appreciate that, man, immensely. It means the world to us. I do want to get back to Steven. He had a couple of comments here.
Ian also said he would take Carr over Flacco, either Carr, David or Derek.
Steven says Oakland got screwed against the Kansas City Chiefs and on that second interception 2 weeks ago. Drew, offensive pass interference, stated our receiver was a blocker, and he was going for the catch on a slanted route. Garbage points in the fourth when you're down by 27 points means nothing. You can't compare that to Mahomes' stats when he had a huge lead. You're 100% right, Steven. And I'm not sitting there saying, well, I know you're not saying this, and I'm not saying this. Carr is matched up to Patrick Mahomes. As much as you hate it, you have to admit Patrick Mahomes so far has proven a lot more than Derek Carr. But my question to you is, if you get rid of Derek Carr, which you so far have known that he can prove something as long as he has offense around him, who are you going to replace him with? Because 2 years down the road, if you're waiting for the gentleman out of
Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence, it's going to be a while. That's 2 years down the road. Who are you going to replace? Is it Fromm? Is it Tua? I mean, who are you replacing?
You got to get the pick to beat the Dolphins first. And guess what? You already won a game, so I don't think that's going to happen. I'm with you. And again, this is the same guy we were talking about week 1. He's revitalized. He just destroyed the Broncos. He threw a couple incompletions and absolutely mauled them in that game.
Yeah.
So he's had a bad couple of weeks, but we can't give up on Carr just because he's had a bad couple of weeks. I mean, like I said, I'd take him in a heartbeat over my quarterback. I think there's some teams out there that would. Now, Oakland's going to have the decision whether they want to keep him or not when the season's over. But for the next 12 games, you get to, 13, I guess, because you haven't played week 4. You get to decide on whether he's worth sticking with that contract or whether it's time to just light it on fire and go find somebody else. The good thing is now it's escapable and you're going to have that option. But for 2019, it's ride or die with Derek Carr.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, couple more quick comments, and then we'll actually move into the games. Jacob says, what do we think about the score will be with the Cowboys and Saints? Well, we don't talk primetime. That is the Sunday night game on Fridays. We talk about it right before it happens on Sunday. But, Jacob, I will tell you this. You got to like where the Cowboys are at, right? I mean, I get it. They played 3. I don't want to call them money games. It's still the NFL, but they played 3 teams that are not ready to win, in my opinion.
Right.
Now you get to play the Saints without their starting quarterback. I think this is a good spot for the Cowboys to be in. Theoretically, they should be the favorite.
I'm going to wait till Sunday night.
They should be. If you're a Cowboys fan, you should like where you're at. If you're a Saints fan, maybe Teddy can float. Maybe you get like 3 of these wins while Drew Brees is out, or 2, and he gets to come back, and your division stays kind of beat up. I know one thing. If you're a Saints fan, you're rooting for the Falcons to lose this one because I see them as like the only legit competition in that conference or in that division.
Without giving it
Conference
away,
is good.
Without giving it away, I would sit there and tell you that don't sleep on the Saints team. Regardless of Breeze not being there, I think this team legitimately is well-rounded as far as a complete team minus the quarterback now. That doesn't mean that Teddy Bridgewater can't win games. That's the only thing I really got to say. I won't give who's going to win or not. I'm kind of up in the air with the game until I kind of sit there and actually go through it all. But I would not sleep on the Saints, even with Teddy Bridgewater being the quarterback.
Absolutely. And Jacob says he likes what he's hearing, man. Feel free to keep commenting, man. We love hearing from you guys. Steven also says he's watched Carr for going on 6 years. He's done with the guy. His money is on Herbert. Gruden loves him. That's true, but that's also the number 1 rated prospect. I know Tua is having the better year, quote unquote, but that doesn't always matter to NFL coaches. They want the better player. If it was better year, Daniel Jones doesn't go 6 overall. Yeah. Because playing at Duke, there was nothing impressive about Daniel Jones, in my opinion. I mean, the offense, you could say he did well with what he was given.
Yeah. Jose, what's going on, man? Glad you could join us. Guys, the comments are overwhelming. Please keep sending them. If we miss you, I am so sorry. But we got to get into this Eagles and Packers game. And I want to get back to what I was saying about this Eagles team. The first quarter, as much as they put up 21 points, they went in the half 21-20 with the lead. This was not a confident lead. It's not like the Eagles are dominating. They got a short field advantage. I know I've already said that. They were not moving the ball prior to that. If any time that they started on the other side of the 50, they were almost going 4 and out. This defense of the Packers was holding them pretty solid until a little bit they're getting a little banged up, and then things changed.
This is a tale of 2 kind of defenses here. You look at what Carson Wentz did, and everyone in the media is loving on Carson Wentz this week because he threw 3 touchdowns, didn't make a pick. He still only threw for 160 yards against the Packers. True.
Right.
160 yards means the defense won. I get it. He threw the touchdowns as opposed to them running him in. Holding a quarterback to 160 yards needs to be a win if you're a defense. Then you look at the rushing. You look at them running the ball 33 times with different running backs in Philadelphia and getting 176 yards on the ground. This defense is exactly what we thought they were. They're great against the pass, and they struggle against the run. I don't care where the touchdowns came from. They gave up 2 on the ground, too.
Right.
I don't care where the touchdowns came from. Look at the yardage and look at the way Philadelphia was able to move the ball. For a team that has not been able to consistently run, to come in and dominate your defense, Mike Daniels should be sitting on this team again. And we'd be talking about them being better against the run than they are. I know he's hurt, but Green Bay is going to have struggles going forward stopping the run. This is how you attack Green Bay. You keep Rodgers on the sideline, and you chew up clock. I think the Eagles, they played a great game. I don't know consistently they're going to have that same run game going forward, but the Packers, to me, have the biggest question mark on this defense. How are we going to get better on the run? Because this isn't Tennessee or the Patriots or one of these teams that just run the ball all the time and run with authority. This is a team that has struggled against the run and put up almost 200 yards this week. So that, to me, was my biggest takeaway, is Green Bay cannot stop the ground game at all.
But I think they could still win games, and I think it starts with special teams. That's what matters the most. If you can stop big returns in these crucial games, because it takes one return, one tackle in that game, and the Packers win that game. You know what I mean?
You talking about the Sanders return?
Yes, I'm talking about the Sanders return. It's like the Chiefs. I mean, we all know last year the Chiefs had the second worst defense in the whole entire league, and I hate sitting there bringing up the Chiefs. I feel like I'm Jake
That's
here.
exactly why I smiled.
I feel like I'm Jake here because I'm always bringing up the Titans, but it's the Chiefs.
But it's a good team.
We always bring up the fact that we all know what the soft part of the defense is, or we know what the soft part of the offense is. When you know what it is to beat a team you run the ball with, the greater teams know how to win the games regardless if you're getting ran on or not. But the problem is, if you have two weaknesses, then you start to lose a little bit. And I told you this the other day. I said, if I was going to pick three teams right now to win a Super Bowl, I said the Patriots, the Chiefs, and the Packers.
And then you said the Packers, and I said, well, what about the Cowboys? And I said, what about the Saints when Drew Brees comes back? I was like, there are other teams out there.
And I stepped myself back and I said, but the Packers have to win this game. And right now, what they showed to me,
we said, what about the Bills? They're 3-0.
What I said about this game was the Packers need to dominate this game, and not only did they not dominate it, they lost the game. And there's an issue. It's not only is there one weakness, there might be multiple other weaknesses with this Packers team. And there needs to be a lot of fixing on this offense and defense for this Packers to go any further. That 3-0 start was great, but guess what? They're now put back, in my opinion, to 0-0. They need to figure out how to figure themselves out, because the Bears and the Vikings can dominate this division if they let it happen.
Absolutely. All right, Drew. Well, let's move on to some games. How about that? Are you ready to move on?
Yeah.
Let's start with my team, the Titans, going on the road to play Atlanta. It's not that far of a trip. You just got to go a couple hours down the highway to Atlanta. But I'm nervous about this game, man. I am nervous. We're sitting at 1-2. So are the Falcons. This is a must-win for both teams, who are now second or further behind. I guess the Titans are third in their division, fourth even, because they lost heads up to Jacksonville. Still realistically alive. But if you lose this game and you drop to 1-3, what do the playoffs hopes look like for either one of these teams?
It's far away. I gotta go to Steven's comment. He said one team for the Super Bowl win. It's the Pats. Let's be realistic, guys. Okay, no, Steven. The Chiefs won that game minus one defensive penalty. Okay, yeah, they lost, but I'm just throwing that out there. Chiefs are a realistic Super Bowl team.
And I'm with you. I think there's two super teams right now that are playing like super teams. I still think the Rams have the talent to. I still think the Saints could with Drew Brees. Right. But right now you got the Chiefs and the Patriots who are playing like they want to win the Super Bowl. And everyone else is just kind of fumbling around and nobody can really figure out if they're a good team or not. I think, again, it's looking like the AFC Championship's going to be fun to watch.
Right. To get to this game.
Ian says Titans strong this week on the road.
There's a lot of talk about that the Titans can win this game. A lot of talk about the Titans can win this game. How do you feel being a Titans fan?
Well, I'm picking the Falcons. Look, I think the Falcons are going to need this. I think they throw the ball really well. I think the Titans so far have not had the mental fortitude to be the team that they need to be to win in the NFL. The defense has played relatively well, but they're not quite as shut down as they were last year. They're letting teams like Jacksonville score 20 points against them. They're letting Leonard Fournette break big runs, and Jordan Wilkins break big runs against them. I think when you look at this Atlanta team and all the weapons they have on it, yeah, I know the defense is not where it needs to be. I know they're all beat up. But when you're playing against Marcus Mariota as a quarterback and the rest of the Titans offense, it's not just Mariota. He's like 80% of the problem. I'm okay with a weak defense as long as I can score points, and I think the Falcons are scoring points here. I think the Titans probably lose this one 27 to 19, because I'm not even going to give my team 20 points on the board. I can't bet on this Titans offense scoring 20 points anymore. And you know me, I love the Titans, but man, it's been tough sledding so far. We've lost to two backup quarterbacks, and we're still starting the guy that has not been able to outperform them.
Nathan is saying Atlanta by a lot.
Thanks, Nathan.
Really,
but he's right. You. He's right, Nathan. I think this is Atlanta. I don't think it's. I think it's. I'm going to say 27-19. Is 8 points a lot in the NFL? I guess it is, but
Steven says this game could go either way. He has Atlanta by a close one. I'm actually going to go Titans, and the reason I'm going to go with this is they have not given up a 100-yard receiver since Week 10 in 2018.
Put Malcolm Butler on Julio Jones. That changes this week.
But it might not be Malcolm Butler that goes.
It needs to be Logan Ryan because there is nobody else. We have one good corner that doesn't give up catches.
My point across,
and nobody talks about it.
This is a stout defense, and every time
shout out to you, Logan Ryan. You're a beast.
Every time the Titans are pushed up against the wall and they're sitting there saying, "You're not going to win this game," what do? They win that game.
That is true. That is true. And this is why I'm not picking them. Because if I said Titans, they'd lose. I've been wrong all 3 streets for the Titans so far. This week, I hope I'm wrong again because I'm going Falcons.
And I'm going to change against the offseason and not listen to you by any means. I think the Titans are going to win this game. Going into Week 4, they're going to find themselves 2-2 and start the season over.
Oh, for the love of God, I hope so. I would love that. I would love it even more if Tannehill comes in to save the day and they get this win. But at least right now, I can't bet on him. I know we went Falcons in the offseason. I'm going to stick with that. I was upset when we went Falcons in the offseason. I said this should have been Titans. But watching the way they've played, especially after Malcolm Butler came out and after beating Cleveland and said, you guys don't have the heart to win in the NFL. And then you get beat by Jacoby Brissett, who should have been a second quarterback, and Gardner Minshew, who is a second quarterback, despite all the hype. Who doesn't have the heart now? I think the Falcons win this one because they need it, and they want it more than the Titans do.
Jordan asks, do you guys think the Lions will make the playoffs again and win the Super Bowl this year?
We're going to talk about them in just a sec. We're going to talk Bills-Patriots. I promise it won't stay long because it's the Patriots and the Bills. But we are going to talk about the Lions and where we think they're going to finish when we get to that game.
Real quick to answer your question, though.
All right, go ahead.
Yes to playoffs, no to Super Bowl.
Yes to playoffs. They're not undefeated. Or got upset when I called them undefeated.
Me into it, and I said
think Ian's talked us both into it. But I'm not saying playoffs yet. I think the Lions are going to have that eventual come-to-Jesus moment where they've done well. Does that continue? I don't know.
It's not a Super Bowl.
I don't think so either. Also, Nathan says he thinks Calvin Ridley finally has a good game in this one. If he's healthy and gets over that hip injury, yes, he's going to be a danger here because that is likely to be who Malcolm Butler matches up against or Adoree Jackson. They like to put Adoree against the athletic guys like Calvin Ridley, and Malcolm Butler kind of just moves around, depends on the matchup. They like to put Logan Ryan on the big physical wide receivers, and he usually is good at taking them out of the game, but it's Julio. He's not going to take them all the way out of the game. I think when you look at this, the Titans' best chance is Calvin Ridley doesn't play here. I'm not that afraid of Mohamed Sanu. I think Austin Hooper is going to have a decent day. I think Julio Jones is going to have a pretty good day regardless of who the Titans put on him because he's Julio Jones.
My fantasy team hopes that Hooper has a decent game.
The best way for the Titans to win this is Calvin Ridley doesn't play because another dangerous threat out there, another game-setting wide receiver like Calvin Ridley can be, I think it's too much for almost any secondary out there.
All right, let's go to the next game. We have the Patriots go to the Buffalo Bills, and Ian's already saying Bills and the upset in Buffalo.
And Steven's with him. He says we think he's crazy, but he's taking the Bills in an upset. No way they would win this in the playoffs, but he thinks they pull off an upset early in the year. The only thing I'll say about the Bills, everyone's fallen in love with the 3-0 record. I mean, they're falling in love with the way Josh Allen is like the 9th best quarterback in fantasy football. But again, it's been the Giants, it's been the Bengals, and it's been the Jets. And none of it's been in convincing fashion. They had to come back against the Jets. They barely survived Cincinnati. They beat the Giants, but that defense is so bad, and it was against Eli, that I'm not giving the Bills a whole lot of credit here. I think the Patriots are going to roll. They're going to keep cruising and look for this one to get ugly. I think they stay close early. Second quarter, they give up a score or two. Third quarter, they go down by a lot. Fourth quarter, they pull it back a little bit because the Patriots are like, we got them.
Yeah. So, I talked about this game.
Sure.
And I sat there and said, this could be an upset for the Patriots. But when I started putting everything together, I think about how the Patriots play each game. And no matter what it is, if it's throwing the ball, if it's a run game, if it's a defensive game, just like the Super Bowl, it does not make a difference for the Patriots. As long as Belichick and Tom Brady are playing, when these weaker teams play against the Patriots, they lose. It's just plain and simple. I mean, and I even hate to say this, even against my Chiefs, even if it's a darn penalty, the Patriots stay close enough to teams that are a little bit lesser than them and win these games. Now, that being said, this is a division rival. This is in Buffalo. It's not New England. That all makes a difference when it comes to this. And that's where it made me sit there and question, man, can the Bills pull this off? I hope the Bills pull it off. I hope the Bills put the Patriots down a notch because that's important. But when you put the Patriots down a notch, they start playing a little bit better.
Exactly, because there's going to be people out there saying the Bills are 3-0. They have a chance in this one. I guarantee you. Wait until we get to those early morning shows where they're talking about it. The Patriots seem to have the biggest years in the NFL where they hear that kind of stuff and they're like, oh, we're the underdog. Really? You're talking about they might actually be able to beat us. Right. It's the games when they go into Miami in week 16 or whatever it was, when they had the Miami Miracle last year, where nobody's giving them a chance. That's where you see the Patriots lose. I think in the games, and even Kansas City, everyone was talking about in the playoffs, Kansas City's got a shot in this one. What happened? Even though the Patriots, in my opinion, were the second best team that day, they came out the hottest. They came out ready to go. I think anytime we talk about the Patriots in the media having a chance to lose a game, it's like Tom Brady hears that and he's like, oh, I'm not letting this happen.
Right.
I think you almost have to lull the Patriots to sleep before you beat them. I don't know. Again, I'm going Patriots here. We're sticking with the offseason pick. I know, real adventurous, but I think this has to be Patriots.
All right, going to the next game. We have Kansas City Chiefs going on the road against the Detroit Lions. Ian's favorite team to win the division.
Second favorite. He is a Steelers fan first, but with the Steelers in the tank, I think Detroit's now the team to root for.
It's been his favorite. I don't care what he says. He's not a Steelers fan. He's really a Lions fan.
Closet Lions fan. He's afraid to admit it. He says, you know who he's going for? The NFC North champs, Roar Lions. He's even got the chants down. Roar Lions? Are you even a Steelers fan anymore? What is the Steelers chant? I don't even know.
He's waving that blue.
Steel down.
That light blue flag.
That's not what it is. Look, I already took a beer bet saying the Chiefs are going to win this. I don't think I can go any other way, right? I got to go Chiefs here.
Listen, the Lions are banged up, man. Mike Daniels is hurt. Many other players, Danny Amendola is hurt. There's a lot of players in the Lions that are banged up. I know the Chiefs are banged up too, but we've done it week in and week out with banged up players. It doesn't matter if you take our best receiver. It doesn't matter if you take our best running back. We seem to be able to put up points as long as number 15 is still out there. That's the only thing that matters. Unless you hurt that guy and put him out in the first quarter, which I swear to God, Ian, if that happens, I will come to your house and murder you. I mean,
metaphorically, FBI for everyone listening into this.
It's not going to happen, man. It's the Chiefs. It's the Chiefs. I'm sorry. I don't care if it's in Detroit. The fact that it's inside, in a dome, is actually a negative thing for the Detroit Lions. That means Patrick Mahomes doesn't have to worry about the wind. That's just something to think about, Ian, when you talk about this game. It's Chiefs, man. Chiefs all the way.
Yeah, and again, the Lions have had a lot of success, but they took advantage of the Chargers, who love to play these kind of teams close, and they, to their credit, were the better team. Not by a lot, but they were the better team last week. They barely tied with the Cardinals after letting a 19-point lead slip away. And we're going to talk about them beating the Chiefs, who, except for the Oakland game, which they still handily won, like, what can you point to the Chiefs and say they're not doing amazing right now? Defensively, they're not an amazing team, but they're better than they were.
Steven's going bold here. He's going 42-0.
Yeah,
Lions.
No one would love. I'm sorry, I take that back. You would probably love that more than I do.
Beer bet, Steven. Why don't you buy me a T-shirt if that happens? If that score happens, beer bet, bro. What do you got?
Also, let us know when you get that. By the way, supposedly it's still on the way. Hopefully, he gets it soon. Anyway, Ian's not buying. He says he can't call it an upset when Detroit wins. Yeah, you're right. This should be a race, right, between two teams that are evenly matched. No, I think the Chiefs win this one. I think they win it comfortably. Again, you said it's inside. They've got injuries in Detroit. Matt Stafford has not looked like old Matt Stafford this year. I think this is going to be a challenge for the Detroit Lions. Is Kerryon Johnson winning this game? No. He might have a good day.
No,
I don't think he's going to win this game.
So did every other running back going against the Chiefs.
So, yeah, I'm going to go Chiefs. Hands down. All right, let's talk about Raiders-Colts.
Let's do it.
Indianapolis has a chance to go 3-1 and legitimately be in the race after I said they're not that good of a team. I didn't take into account that they get to play the Raiders in Week 4 and be able to run Houston down. But again, when you look at the way these teams have played, and I'm sorry, Steven, I know I took a shot at the Raiders. It was kind of a joke. But still, with the way Oakland has been playing these past couple weeks and the way Indianapolis has been playing these past couple weeks, momentum is 100% on Indianapolis' side. And you can't tell me it's not.
I'm going to go, and this is a bold statement. This could possibly be the highest scoring game of the week. This easily could be a shootout for these two teams. And that's because I put Derek Carr and Jacoby Brissett on the same level right now at this point when they're both playing.
Finish your thought, but I'll crap on it when you're done.
Thanks, man. They're both playing mediocre football with teams around them that are making them look just a tad bit better than what they're playing. And I mean that in the best senses. The Raiders lost their best receiver. but they're still throwing the ball. Jacoby Brissett is not the number one quarterback, but they're throwing the ball. I mean, they're looking better than realistically they should.
I think this is Marlon Mack's team. The question is going to be, can the Raiders slow down Marlon Mack the same way they slowed down the Broncos in week 1? Because if you could take the running game out of this and let Jacoby Brissett, I know everyone's going to say, he's throwing for 300 yards. Blah, 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 blah. I don't care. I think Jacoby Brissett, if you're going to beat him, you want it to be with him throwing the ball and your defense taking advantage of that. T.Y. Hilton is banged up for this game. There's a chance he doesn't play, especially if he does. I like the Colts here, but even if he doesn't, I still think I'm going to take the Colts by an edge. I think the Raiders have had that big win when Antonio Brown left the team in week 1 and everyone was calling him dead in the water and they were all hyped up. It was a big energy win against Denver, who, let's face it, hasn't been very good themselves.
I called it.
Well, you didn't call that game. We lost a shirt on that game.
No.
Yeah.
I called how long does that motivation last?
The Raiders have kind of returned to earth, and the question to me is, can they respark against a defense that's having a bunch of injuries? Guys like Darius Leonard, who's been banged up, and Malik Hooker, who's now going to miss some time. This defense was not good to begin with. They're missing some of their stars. I think when you look at the Raiders, this is a win if Derek Carr can come out and have a good game, because you can say reasonably, we just need another couple receivers. We need to build this defense up, and we can be a good team again. I think this is one of the games where, like we were talking about before, you learn more about Derek Carr and whether you need to keep him as a starter or not. Because he doesn't need to win, but he needs to throw 280 yards and a couple touchdowns, even if there's a turnover in there. You need to see Derek Carr look good against a defense that he should look good against.
Rob, you misspelled Chiefs, by the way, just to let you know. Chris said the Colts are playing a hell of a lot better than what we are giving them credit for.
They're winning tough games, and that's important. They beat the Titans, which is a tough game. They beat the Falcons, which is a tough game. But, again, not very convincing style. It's the team that I think is very well coached under Frank Reich. I think might be the best coach in the AFC South, actually. I know everyone talks about Bill O'Brien and what he's done for Houston, and maybe someone talks about Vrabel, but, again, I don't think I've seen anything out of Vrabel that I'm saying he's that much better of a coach or that much better of an organizer than those other two guys are in the division. I think it's been a good coaching job. I think Brissett has played well enough when they've needed him to. I think the defense has played well enough when they've needed to. But again, they don't really have a lot of high caliber wins. They beat the Titans, who lost to Jacksonville. Whoa, look out for them. And they beat the Falcons, who, again, 1-2. They beat Philadelphia on a fourth quarter drive. They could very well be 0-3 right now. The Colts have been all right. Especially losing your starting quarterback. This is about as good as it gets. But to me, I'm still not there. I'm still not on the train of this is a good team.
Chris, I'm not knocking the Colts by
I
any
am.
means.
Sorry. But you know I do.
But I'm not. I honestly, what I'm saying is they're playing above their talent level. When you lose Andrew Luck right at the beginning of the season, this is a down season. There's no doubt about it. You can't sit there and tell me Jacoby Brissett is a better quarterback or matches up with Andrew Luck. This is a lot of teams in this scenario would have called this game or this season over with. But the Colts did not do that. They believe in Jacoby Brissett, and that's why I'm sitting there telling you that they're playing out of their minds right now with Brissett as quarterback. And that being said, I'm picking them to win this game. Even though I'm sitting there saying the Raiders are playing better than they should, that's not a lie. I literally think that. I just watched a game when they played Kansas City, and they shut out Patrick Mahomes for three out of the 4 quarters. No one really does that. So that's what I'm getting at is both these teams are playing out of their minds. The question is, who can play a better game?
Who can keep the energy up?
Exactly. And I think the Raiders have lost their motivation. I think their motivation was the fact that Antonio Brown left their team and was like, I don't need you. You need me. And they were like, okay, let me prove you wrong. And that died. When the Colts lost Andrew Luck, it's like, well, guess what? We're moving on, and we believe in Jacoby Brissett. And I fully believe that they believe in him. I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender. But they do beat a team like the Oakland Raiders.
And Steven's taking my strategy, saying he's going to take the Colts and hope that works out, that because he faded the Raiders, they win this week. I'm not calling them dead in the water. I think this is a battle of two teams that aren't going to be quite good enough to make an impact this year. There's a good chance the Raiders win this one. I'm going to go Colts. We're going to stick with the offseason pick here, even though we thought Andrew Luck would be playing in this game in the offseason. Right. I'm still going to go Colts here because I think they're the better running attack. They have the better running attack. They have the better offensive line. Even though defensively, I think the Raiders might be a little bit better than the Colts are with all these injuries. I still like the way the Colts are set up. I think Jacoby Brissett won't make too many injuries. I got to go Colts here. I think especially at home, they're going to have the advantage over a team like the Raiders.
Sandy, it's good to see you, man. He says they ain't stopping the Mac attack. And Jonathan, I want you to know I did a shout out for you at the beginning of this episode.
Yeah, I was going to say, we talked about you a lot before the show. We're glad your Eagles won. You made a right call, man. It was a good call. Then again, how worried were you when Aaron Rodgers threw that pick on the last play? You were like, uh-oh. Seeing that in the air. It was looking like the pack was coming back.
I do want to know, and I already know what the answer is, but I'm going to ask you anyways. Do the Eagles 2-2, are they a better team than the Green Bay Pack?
Who?
I don't even know anymore. Packers 3-1. Which team is better? Even though the Eagles just win, is your team better than the Packers? I want to know your answer.
I also think Devontae Adams finishes that game. It might have wound up a little bit different, but that was an important win for the Eagles. It's exactly what they needed at a point in time where the season was kind of hinging, it was in the balance. I mean, they went down 10-0. That could have been it. They could have quit, and they could have said, hey, this isn't our year. But instead, they hung with it, and they managed to eke out a very good win against, in our opinion, a very good team in the Packers. Also, Sandy says they should be 3-0. I'm not sure who he's talking about, but he says the Colts are taking the AFC South. Bold prediction, especially when you look at the teams Houston has played, and they're 2-1. Houston's played the Saints already. Indy hasn't played the Saints yet. They played them with a healthy Drew Brees and beat them. They beat the Chargers, who probably are still a good team. Maybe better now with Melvin Gordon coming back. I get it. It was a close game against Jacksonville, but Jacksonville usually plays the division pretty tough. I got to go Houston still. I like Indianapolis. They're probably going to finish second the way my team's looking.
Steven, I don't need to know your nonsense, all right? I misspoke, you jerk.
And he says...
Your team's going to lose to the Colts. Think about it.
and Chris is saying he thinks I'm a little bit biased in the Colts, and there probably is a little bit in there. Maybe it's because I hate them. But they've played well. Do I think this is a great team? I do not. I think this is a team playing kind of like Oakland that's playing well and has had kind of the right motivation and kind of the right energy that you want to have. I think they're very well coached. I just said Frank Reich, I think, is the best coach in the AFC South, so that should be something. I don't think they have the talent level that a lot of Indianapolis fans think that they do, especially defensively. If Darius Leonard somehow misses this game too, I'm worried about what Josh Jacobs is going to do to this defense. We already know Malik Hooker's probably not going to play too. So Indianapolis has a lot of good players. They don't have a team full of good players yet. So good team, I guess. Decent team. Probably not there yet.
Thomas, what's going on, man? He said Who Day Saints. Or is it Who Day Bengals? I don't even know.
Thomas is a Bengals fan. He's saying he hates football. I would too if I was a Bengals fan, but Monday night looks like your first chance to grab a win.
I always forget
who. It's Who Day for the Saints. It's Who Dat for the Saints and Who Day for the Bengals.
It's the same thing.
I know. And I think the Bengals did it first, to their credit. I'm pretty sure the Bengals did it first. So props to you. I do remember Thomas being a Bengals fan. I would hate the NFL too, man. It's tough. I don't like hiring the 8th best coach in the offseason just because he's a young guy that everyone thinks he's off the McVay tree, but the offense is rolling. Andy Dalton looks about as good as he ever has. You've got some receivers now that are finally stepping up with A.J. Green out. Now just put a defense together and this team could be legit. And an offensive line.
Yeah.
Not easy to do, but at least you have something to look forward to.
Right.
All right, we'll move forward. We'll talk about our next game here.
We got to, right?
We got to talk about the Dolphins and the Chargers.
It's the most important game this week.
Watch the Chargers let the Dolphins hang around in this one. Watch this finish 14-12. They shouldn't. I think last week's going to be embarrassing enough that they lost the Lions. I think the Chargers come out and maul them. I know Melvin Gordon's going to play, and fantasy owners will be tempted to put him in there, but there's no way you risk your star running back. This will be Eccles' last best chance to put up amazing fantasy numbers. If you have him in fantasy, run him. There's not a whole lot I need to say about this matchup anymore, is there? Are the Dolphins winning, Drew?
I don't even know. Ian thinks differently, but I'm going to get to Thomas's comment real quick. He says, Bengals, baby. Dude, Ross is the man.
Talking about John Ross for the Bengals, I'm glad he's finally showed up. It took him a couple years, but he has now showed up.
I'll admit, I wanted him in fantasy, and I couldn't get him. I couldn't grab him off of any waiver wire. Everyone beat me to it. You're right, man. He looks like a stud. You guys might have the next guy after A.J. Green. Won't beat him as far as career goes, but still a number one receiver for sure, in my opinion. Ian says this game scares him for a pick. He can see the Fins pull this win out, but look at the Bolts. Hate to say Bolts. He says, hate to say that too since the what?
He says he hates to say that too, since the Bolts were his
There you go.
AFC West pick.
I can talk.
Let me read the comments from here on, okay? No, I'm kidding. Ian, that's a good point. That's 100% a good point. But here's another good point. The Dolphins haven't been within 25 points of a win here for the first 3 games of the season. I'm going to take the Chargers, I think. I get it. If you bet on any of these games, maybe throw a couple bucks on the Dolphins every week. Maybe you hit one of these because the odds are going to go super long here if they keep losing these games by this much, and eventually you're going to make a lot of money betting. Maybe you throw away $5 every week and try to wait and hit for a couple hundred. I think this is one of those teams that the Dolphins are historically bad. We could even say they're tanking. Josh Rosen will probably be a waste of a second-round pick that they threw away to bring him in because they're putting him in there, and we all know what's going to happen. He's going to play the rest of the season, and everyone's going to talk about he sucks, right? Yeah. But what do they have on this team that scares them or that should be successful with having a guy like Josh Rosen? There's nobody. Nothing you can point to.
Jordan, he says the Lions will finish undefeated. I'm sorry, man. A tie is a loss.
No, it is not. No, it is not. A tie is a tie. A tie is a tie.
A loss.
It's not a win, but it ain't a loss.
And
you know what? If it comes down to a tiebreaker,
16-0 team and a 16 or a 15-0-1 team, guess what?
Yeah, and then if there's a 10-5-1 versus a 9-7, guess who gets in? The 10-5-1. It does count, Drew. It's not a loss. It's not a win. I think again, nobody has scored more points than the Lions in any game they've played to this point in the season. Still undefeated. It's an important stat.
Chargers this week.
I'm sorry, Nathan saying Chargers 44-10. I think that's reasonable.
Yeah.
As much as I hate to say it, I think that's reasonable. This needs to be a blowout.
Thomas says trade Dalton and Green for draft picks. Finley is fine. Do you believe that is what the Bengals should do?
I don't think Andy Dalton's going anywhere. I don't think he should. When you look at the way he's being the second quarterback in passing in the league right now, put an offensive line in front of this kid. Put a defense out there. I get it. He had it for a short turn under Marvin Lewis, and it didn't work out. They lost a couple playoff games early on in the playoffs, and everyone's saying, oh, he can't win in the playoffs, blah, blah, blah. He's an older, savvy quarterback that's playing really well. He has the second most passing yards through the first 3 weeks of the year with not premier weapons. I get it. You might like Tyler Boyd. You might like John Ross. This isn't Julio Jones. This isn't Odell Beckham. He's not playing with a stacked roster, and you're still looking really, really good with Andy Dalton. Keep Andy Dalton around. AJ Green, trade him. He's 31. He's not helping you going forward. Trade him away if you can. Put him out there. The problem is he's probably not going to be back before the trade deadline. But if you can get a trade for AJ Green, I'm all for that.
Richard, what's going on, man? Glad you could join us. He says, what about those Niners? Well,
they're on bye this week, right? 3-0, though. I'll give you this, Rich. It's been a long time since I know you're a Niners fan, since you've been able to say this team looks good. But do they, though? Jimmy G's kind of struggled 2 out of 3 weeks. They're winning, and that's important. They're winning, and that's important. I think the defense, to me, has been the biggest surprise. They've played much better than I thought the 49ers defense was going to play this year. I'll give you credit. I think that D-line is legit. You spend all those first-round picks that are like in the top 5, eventually you got to be good, right? It looks like that time has finally come.
Right. No, I agree with you. Ian said for some reason the Finns seem to evenly match with LA to him for some reason.
That's because the Chargers play everybody close
to a team all year. And Thomas says we have no defense.
You're 100% right.
Yeah.
I have nothing else to say. You're 100% right. They have no defense, and the offensive line needs work. And I get it. You took a left tackle with your first pick, and I can't remember the kid from Alabama's name. I always want to say Barrett Jones, but he was like 28 years ago because my brain's stupid.
No.
It is something weird, but he's the white left tackle that's playing from Alabama, and I can see his face. I can't remember what his name is. It was a good pick. He's out for the rest of the year, though. The Bengals, they need an offensive line. They need a defense. Beyond that, they're good.
Jonah Williams.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, next game. Redskins go on the road to face the New York Giants. We saw Daniel Jones come out. He played an excellent game. We believed that the Redskins' defense was a great defense, but so far they've given up a lot. Is this a game where the Redskins and Case Keenum can finally come to tuition and actually put up some points? With McLaurin, by the way, is injured. He'll play. He's hurt.
Good start for the rookie. You know who else has looked good? Case Keenum. Another guy that has looked absolutely fantastic. And I'm not doing that to, like, drive the dagger into your heart or anything, but Case Keenum's looked good for a team.
It's my
You
second
hate Case
favorite
Keenum.
team.
You hate Case Keenum,
Yeah,
though.
and my team seems to
It's
be
your
able to-
second favorite team, but your second most hated quarterback ever, probably, ahead of John Elway, I think. Again, you look at the way Case Keenum's been playing with a group full of nobodies at wide receiver. Terry McLaurin might be a good player. Beyond that, who else in this Washington offense scares you? I think the way they've been playing with Case Keenum, who has had a little bit of protection behind this offensive line, going up against a defense like the Giants, this should be a no-brainer, right? You're not going to have the 5 turnovers you had against the Bears. The Giants are not taking the ball away 5 times in this game. I think I'm going to go Washington here. I think that defense is going to be the difference. I think Daniel Jones has a good day. I think with no Saquon Barkley, it's not a good enough day to beat Case Keenum, an experienced quarterback who's going to go into New York and throw for another 330 yards. And we're going to see Case Keenum actually have a good week.
I hope not.
Because you're picking the Giants.
Yeah, I am picking the Giants, and I'm picking their running back too, which I can keep on forgetting names. Like Gallman,
Wayne Gallman.
Gallman.
Yes.
Picked him up in my fantasy because guess who picked Saquon Barkley? This retard. Anyways,
good shackle though. Good shackle. He'll be back.
I hope that he goes off. But that being said, I'm not even. That's not even what my thing is about. I think the Redskins are completely just. They're disoriented. They don't know what is a great football team right now. They have a lot of talent, especially on that defense, and they seem not to be able to do it well. They're letting up way too many points happen. They're allowing too many things to happen defensively for this team to even be considered good with all the talent they have, and it's a struggle. And when you have a young rookie with not a lot of film on him, I think that this defense could put up, or this offense could put up a lot of points on this defense. And the next thing being said is that tight end, which I'm blanking on his name,
Evan Ingram.
Ingram is playing out of his mind right now. And I think
he's the best receiver they have. I think Sterling Shepard's okay.
And I think it's going to be the dagger in the heart is Ingram.
Yeah.
I honestly do. I think the Giants win this game.
I think it's going to be interesting. If Saquon plays here, I take the Giants too. But offense versus defense, I think the Redskins have more on defense than the Giants do, surely. I think the Redskins win this one. I think AP has a better week than we've seen him have. This is the first time the Redskins aren't playing someone like the Bears on defense here. I think this is going to be a game that maybe John Gruden hangs on for a little bit longer. Everyone's saying he's going to get fired. I think Jay Gruden sticks around because he wins this game against a defense that he needs to beat.
Thomas is saying Haskins is the future. And Blaze, I'm glad you could join us, man. He says Giants easy. And Sandy, I'm glad
it won't be easy. Not with this defense. Nothing is easy when your defense gives up scores left and right.
And Sandy,
I think it's going to be close.
I'm glad you set me straight on the name. They escape me every now and then, so.
Absolutely. Also, going back to a couple of these comments, Steven says the 49ers haven't beaten anyone. Neither have the Bills or I take it back. The Lions beat the Chargers. The Bills haven't beaten anyone, and we're talking about they might beat the Patriots, right? If you can believe in the Bills, you can believe in the 49ers. Give them a little bit of a chance. I like the 49ers coach. I like Shanahan. I like his offense. Jimmy G's had upward potential. The defense is playing well. I don't really like any of their weapons, but c'est la vie, right? I think the 49ers, it depends who they play for the rest of the season, but like Richard was saying, maybe the Browns are the first real test. Are they, though? The Browns haven't looked good. They beat the Jets, but not in convincing fashion. Right. With Trevor Siemian and Luke Falk, I don't know. This could be a 4-0 49ers team going into Week 6. Right. I think this team, again, I like where they're going. They're winning games.
Yeah, no doubt.
Maybe Jimmy G bounces back. Maybe he doesn't. Then I sound stupid, but I don't know. Again, 49ers, they're question mark. Much more of a question mark than I think the Bills are for me.
We got to go to the next game. The Cleveland Browns go on the road to the Baltimore Ravens. Do the Browns pull themselves around in this game?
Not today. No, I think this is all Ravens, right? You look at the way the Ravens have played. They played the Chiefs tough. Give them credit. I think Lamar Jackson throws again in this game, and everyone's going to say, hey, look how good of a passer he is against a team that hasn't been able to defend the pass this year. I think Mark Ingram has a really good day, even though the Browns have done a good job stacking the run against the run this season, I should say. I just don't see them selling out to the run when they've got weapons like Marquise Brown, who's been kind of lighting it up. I think the game plan's going to space everybody out with his speed and his dynamicism. I think the Ravens win here, and I think that defense kind of embarrasses Cleveland.
Yeah. Jeffrey says maybe Jimmy G gets hurt again.
And he could. And when that happens, I'm going to say sell the 49ers. They're not that good of a team anymore. But anytime you lose your starting quarterback, how good of a team are you?
I hope not.
Except for Indianapolis,
I hope
nobody, right? It's pretty tough to have your backup come in and consistently win games.
Oh, man. Steven
Happy
says,
Friday to you too, Luke.
Steven says the Ravens blow this one out. And Luke says, my favorite sports show. How you doing?
Happy
10
Friday. We're good.
Friday.
We're good. It's TGIF, man. Happy Friday to you.
I'm a little intoxicated, but don't judge me.
That's why we can't think of any names, because we're both 2 sheets to the wind. 3 sheets to the wind? What is the saying? I don't know. See, we're messed up.
Hold on, there's sheets?
Exactly. Guys, let's talk about this next game. Let's talk about the Browns and the Ravens. I don't want to sell this one short. I think the Browns need to eventually click, but are they going to do it against what might be the second or third best defense in the league? I'm going to guess probably not. I think we talked about this before the show. I still think Baker Mayfield and the rest of this Browns offense has their mind in the media, and they're not making good decisions. They're feuding with Rex Ryan because Rex Ryan said something mean about your starting quarterback instead of just playing the game and focusing on getting better. Freddie Kitchens versus John Harbaugh, who's been one of the longest tenured coaches in the NFL. Everything here points Ravens. And usually when everything points one way, the other team wins, but I can't bet on the Browns. I got to go Ravens here. I have to.
I don't even think there's a question. I think there's discord in the whole locker room. Again, like you said, Freddie Kitchens cannot keep all these egos in check. That's the best way to put it. Ravens won this game. The Ravens lost the Chiefs last week only because I think the team's better. I know I keep bringing up the Chiefs. The Ravens are still a great team. They're going to probably face the Chiefs again in the playoffs. The Ravens have no reason why they should lose this game to the Browns.
I'm with Steven saying the Ravens blow this one away. I think it's going to get ugly. I think that defense, especially when you look at the way Cleveland's offensive line has played to this point, they have not done a good job protecting Baker Mayfield. This Ravens defense is going to absolutely feast on him. I think OBJ might make a little bit of an appearance. We've seen Jarvis Landry kind of fade to the background. David Njoku's hurt. I really don't see Nick Chubb making an impact in this game. Cleveland, they're in some trouble. And again, this is why you don't pick super teams in the offseason, because every time someone tells you this team's going to be amazing, they always wind up not being that way, right?
Right, no doubt. Christopher says, did the Texans win or lose? What do we all
think? Well, let's talk about it.
Let's jump into that game.
Let's talk about the Carolina Panthers going on the road to play the Houston Texans. I hope they lose. Remember, I am a Titans fan here, Christopher, but I got to give them credit. The Texans look like the best team in this division, hands down. They've played the Saints really tough. I know they lost that game, but it was with Drew Brees, and they were a couple plays away from winning it. I mean, when they scored with DeAndre Hopkins in the last second of week 1, or last, 30 seconds? I was like, oh, man, Houston just stole one against the Saints. They beat the Chargers, another good team. If the Chargers win that game, we're talking about them being good, right? Instead of being 1-2, 2-1. The Houston Texans are legit. I know they didn't play Jacksonville very well. The Houston Texans are legit. I'm going to take them in this one. I don't think Christian McCaffrey stacks up well against a front seven like Houston has. If you're going to beat Houston, you got to throw the ball. And I look at Kyle Allen coming in for the Carolina Panthers. I know he had a good week last week, and he's had good starts before that, but I don't think Kyle Allen beats a team like Houston and Deshaun Watson by himself.
Yeah, I'm taking the Texans in this game. I know that Kyle Allen had a great game last week, and it's something everyone's really high about as far as the Carolina fans go, but it makes no difference. I don't think you could put up another outing like that. And if he does, then I think he needs to be talked up above Baker Mayfield. I think he needs to be talked above all those other Minshew. If he throws another 300 yards and 4 touchdowns, I think it's something that you need to talk above some of these young guys that are trying to make their way into this league. Because this, I get it. Everyone's like, Allen did that against, whatever. But can he do it again?
Yeah,
if
I think he can
do it again, I think there's a talk about it. Maybe it's because he's in Carolina that no one wants to sit there and give this guy credit.
Look, I like DJ Moore. I like Curtis Samuel. I think he could do it this week against a weak secondary like the Texans have. I mean, we saw Jordan Reed get shaken up last week too. The Texans have nobody in that back half, right? It's all front seven.
But when you start putting film on these young rookies, you start knowing how to play against them on defense. You can sit there and say there's a weak secondary, but they're still all in the NFL.
Yeah, that is true. But on the other hand, everybody is knowing that Christian McCaffrey is the guy to beat here. This is going to be sell out to beat Christian McCaffrey. I think Kyle Allen's going to have another good game. I do. I think Kyle Allen's going to throw for a lot of yards. The Panthers will lose this one. My question for Houston is, can you keep hits off of Deshaun Watson? If you can't keep hits off him, this is the kind of game he's going to get injured in, because the Carolina Panthers are a very good defense. They've kept them pretty much in every game. They've kept them in almost every game to this point this season. If you let Deshaun Watson take a beating from this squad, it's going to be that much harder to win in the playoffs for the Houston Texans. This is where the offensive line is still a problem for Houston.
I still want to see what Kyle Allen can do because he's getting absolutely zero credit because everyone's waiting for Cam Newton to come back.
Right. No, I agree. I think this is going to be a telling game, but this is one he should have a decent time in, I think. I think this is going to be a game that Kyle Allen can put another 300 yards on the board. Is it enough to win? No, because he's going up against Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins. Who can you match up with? I like Christian McCaffrey, but against this front seven, he's not going to go have 100 yards receiving and 100 yards rushing. It's going to take for the Carolina Panthers to beat somebody with their backup quarterback.
I agree with you. Sandy says Carolina's going to win this one. The thing is that they're going to beat the Texans this season and their offensive line. I'm going with the Texans.
Look, I think that's a good observation. This is where they need to win. If Carolina's going to win this, you got to get in Deshaun Watson's face early and often.
Yeah.
You got to frustrate Carlos Hyde, which apparently is not that hard to do, even though he's looked okay this season. And you got to keep DeAndre Hopkins in check. My question is, can you keep DeAndre Hopkins in check? Because just like Houston, the way you attack the Panthers is you do it through the air. You don't try to run.
It's a tough ask.
It definitely is. I think they're going to beat up Deshaun Watson. That's my biggest takeaway from this game. Can Deshaun Watson avoid a bunch of hits? Because Houston's probably going to win, and when they do, the question is going to be, did your quarterback get hit 14 times, or did he get hit 4 times?
Yeah.
You got another, 12 weeks after this. You need Deshaun Watson healthy for those.
It's going to be a long road for the Texans, no doubt.
Especially if they keep letting him get hit. All right.
All
go ahead.
Next game is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the LA Rams. This is
trying to give LA a third team?
Yeah, maybe. Is there competition in this game at all?
Nope. Even though the Rams have looked bad on offense, I think they're going to look bad in this one too. It's going to be good enough.
Pretty well. I said pretty well.
Defensively, they've been better than they have been. Shaq Barrett is the leading sacker in the NFL after 3 weeks. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Even still, they're way below average on quarterback pressures, even though they have one amazing guy like Shaq Barrett who's looked good. This team is not a good team. The Buccaneers are not a good squad. I think the Rams have a little bit of a bounce back. We don't see Todd Gurley too much in this one because they're going to save him for the playoffs. I know Todd Gurley fans and everyone who took him in fantasy is going to be upset about that. But when you look at the way the Buccaneers have played, they've won some games, but they've done it ugly. It took a monsoon, in my opinion, to beat a team like Carolina with Cam Newton. It took a lot for this team to even play well. I've not seen it out of Jameis Winston. If he's throwing 400 yards, I'd say maybe they have a chance with the way the Rams have struggled offensively. Without Jameis Winston throwing 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 2 picks, I don't think they win this, and we haven't seen that with Bruce Arians yet.
Steven says Rams easily. Ian says we don't need a third team. Thank you. You might get one. It's LA. Chris says Rams win this one. I mean, is there really anything the Buccaneers can do to either halt the running game or halt the passing game that might allow them to stay into this game? I think this is going to be a high-scoring game, and I think it's going to be a close game. But I think because of the quarterback scenario, I think Goff won't turn over the ball as much as Winston will, and that's where the win comes from.
I think it's going to be ugly. I think it's going to be a lot of people saying, what is this Rams offense that I'm looking at? And Tampa Bay still not good enough to beat that. I think the Rams are going to score 22 points, 24 points, 26 points, maybe somewhere in that range, and Tampa Bay scores 19. And we see Mike Evans have a big day. We see Mike Evans do okay, but maybe we see some takeaways from guys like Marcus Peters. Maybe we see the Rams veterans really step up here, but I think this is going to be ugly. I don't think the Rams have it figured out. I still think, I don't want to call it a Super Bowl hangover. I think Bill Belichick broke the whiz kid, and they don't have the same confidence they had. I really think that's going to be the issue here. I think the Rams are going to score just enough to win. We're talking about the Rams are undefeated, but they haven't looked good at any point in the season. And in a win like Tampa Bay, unless it's 42 to 10, I'm not going to say the Rams are back yet.
Yeah, I'll go with that. Let's go on to the next game. The Seattle Seahawks go on the road to the Arizona Cardinals.
I'll do a couple comments here, too. Also, Ian says, if in Florida, he would take Tampa Bay, but it's in L.A., so he's saying Rams. I don't think home field's the difference here. I think talent-wise, the Rams have to be the favorite, right? One team's looking like they're a top 5 pick. One team's looking like they should be a Super Bowl contender when you look at the rosters. I think eventually the Rams figure it out. They haven't yet. A couple more comments really quick. Steven's saying this was his pick in his survival league. Go Rams all day, every day here. If you took Tampa Bay, man, Let me know why, because I've been scratching my head saying with the way Jameis has played, and that's been their strength offensively, I can't point to the Buccaneers and say they're doing anything well to this point in the NFL season.
He's going Rams.
Right. And Chris is saying 24-13. I think he's saying Rams too. I'm with you, Chris. This has to be a Rams win, right?
Agreed.
Right.
Let's go on to the next game like I was trying to do to begin with. Anyways, Seattle Seahawks go on the road to the Arizona Cardinals. I actually think this could be an upset for the Seahawks in the fact of losing, but I think they're going to win this game. I think the Arizona Cardinals are going to keep this game pretty tight, and it might be a little bit scary for the the Seattle Seahawks because it's in division. They all know how each other play. They play each other all the time. This offense that the Arizona Cardinals are putting up is a little bit scary when teams have a problem putting up 30 points.
Here comes the mauling. Again, what have the Cardinals not done? Guarded tight ends, who Russell Wilson likes throwing to. Look for Will Dissly to have a good fantasy week this week. If you need a tight end in fantasy, he might be out there in your free agency. Go look for Will Dissly, the guy who catches touchdowns from Russell Wilson. He's not going to put up a bunch of yardage, but he'll score the ball, and sometimes that's all you need out of your tight end. I think that's going to happen this week. I think they're going to run the rock all over the Cardinals, who have two good pass rushers in Chandler Jones and Terrell Suggs. Beyond that, I really don't see this defense slowing down Russell Wilson and company. This is going to be Seattle grinding clock. It'll be a fast game. I think they'll throw for a good number of yards. I don't think Seattle's defense is good enough to just shut down Kyler Murray in this new spread offense that's throwing the ball all over the block. I think when you look at the Cardinals team, they'll put up yards and then they'll lose another game.
Austin said, "Go Hawks!" Surprise, surprise. There, this game could become an offensive shootout. I agree.
But Steven's with you.
And Steven says Seattle, but in a close one. And Nathan says Seattle by 7. And Chris is going with the upset. He says he thinks Arizona could win this one, 27-24. And Ian is sticking with his underdog theme and going with Arizona in one last one. Sandy says he hopes Arizona keeps it right.
He has Wilson in DraftKings.
Wilson in DraftKings.
Big news. DraftKings signed a deal with the NFL to be their official daily partner. So maybe DraftKings takes an advantage in going forward. So if you do daily, maybe DraftKings is the way to go because now they're partnered with the NFL. Talking about that game, actually, the best hope for Russell Wilson, or if you're taking him in fantasy, is that the Cardinals do score a lot of points here. But I think we're kind of underrating how good this defense can be for Seattle. They haven't been the best. They're kind of a no-name defense where you're not looking at a lot of guys outside of Bobby Wagner who are that good of a player, maybe KJ Wright. Beyond that, this defense still seems to get the job done week in and week out. I don't love Russell. Okay, but have we seen Clowney dominate yet? I think when we're talking about dominant defensive players,
Clowney dominate, if that makes sense.
Clowney level, we're like not quite worth the money we're paying you, but that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think when you look at Seattle, I still think this gets a little out of hand. I think they're going to run a little bit. I don't hate this pick. It could happen. The Cardinals will put up a lot of yards. Eventually, that leads to a lot of points, right?
Right.
So maybe that happens this week. I don't hate your pick in daily, but I think this one gets a little more ugly than people
He's
do.
hoping for a shootout, and the fact that Wilson
and that's not bad.
Ball.
Yeah, that's not bad. And that happened last week. Wilson put up like 42 fantasy points in most leagues.
Right.
I don't see it happening again. I think this is going to be about a 22-point affair for Russell Wilson, and then maybe they start running the rock a little bit more. So I don't know. Maybe it happens. I'm not saying it's the worst bet in the world, but I think the Seattle defense is going to slow down the Cardinals.
We have Seahawks across the board. Let's go into the next game where the Minnesota Vikings go on the road to the Chicago Bears. This was a little bit of a head-scratcher. During the offseason, we took the Vikings. We were thinking that this pass offense is going to be dominant, and we know we all like
Which
Fuller.
it hasn't.
we all know we like Fuller, but you're absolutely right. This pass offense has not been dominant. If anything, it's Dalvin Cook, but the problem is the Bears have so far shut down a lot of running offense.
Yeah, that's the problem for Dalvin Cook is now you have to play the Bears. And then you're going to have to do it one more time in the future. When you look at this game, the Vikings at the Bears, again, it's in Soldier Field in Chicago. The Bears, hopefully with that crowd, are going to play a little bit better offense. The reason I'm betting on the Bears in this game, the reason I'm saying the Bears are going to win if you're taking a pick 'em here, is for the simple fact that I believe in this defense frustrating Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
No running back is going to be good enough to single-handedly beat the Bears. Take your pick. Any name in the NFL, the Bears are going to shut them down.
Yeah.
The question is going to be, can your quarterback throw enough? Because that's still the way you attack the Bears. That front seven is so amazing. even though the pass rushers are great, you need to be able to beat them. They have the receivers to do it, but Kirk Cousins has struggled against winning teams. I think the Bears defensively are going to frustrate Kirk Cousins. The key to this game, can they run enough short passing routes and then rely on Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen to do stuff with the ball after the catch to beat the Chicago Bears? I don't believe that's going to happen. I think Kirk Cousins is more of a down-the-field kind of passer. He wants to drop back, take his 5 steps, and get hit. The Vikings still don't have the offensive line for that. This is Bears all the way.
Chris says he thinks Chicago wins the defensive shutout with Cook down 17-14. Ian says Chi-Town in Midway, the Bears by 6. Honestly, I don't even know why I care about this game. It literally means nothing to me. But I hope that Kirk Cousins and that passing offense shows himself a little bit in this game. Because I believe that Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs are the best duo of receivers in this league. And that's even over the Chiefs. It's even over the Rams. It's even over any other team that is out there. I think that this two receivers in this duo are the best receivers in the NFL. The problem is Kirk Cousins. And you're absolutely right. There's going to be pressure all over him. Marlon Mack, whatever his name is.
Khalil Mack.
Khalil Mack.
Different Mack.
Whatever.
A little bit better
He's
Mack.
He's going to be completely all over this. He is going to create so much discord on that offensive line that he's not going to have any time. And that's what involves the game to be a win for the Chicago Bears. I don't think it's their offense. I don't think it's their run game. I believe the Vikings have a great defense. It's the fact that they're going to be all over Cousins that causes so much chaos that he can't create anything offensively, and that's where the Bears get the win. I'm going to stick with the I'm going to go against the offseason pick because we picked the Vikings to win this game.
We did.
But I'm going to go with the Bears win this game.
I think the Bears need it. I think when you look at the way the defense is played, I don't believe in Kirk Cousins to beat him. But then again, I think this stays close. I'm kind of with Chris here when he said 17-14. That sounds like a good score to me. Maybe a little bit higher, maybe 20-17, maybe 19-16. But this one's gonna stay close. I think the Vikings defense is back, right? They've been very, very good to this point. I think this defense is going to really frustrate Mitch Trubisky. This is a field position battle. This is going to be a low-scoring affair where you see two defenses rip apart offenses who should be playing better. Right now, though, I got to go Chicago. I don't love this pick. I think the Vikings certainly could win this game and should win this game when you look at what they have offensively. But I'm going to go with what the Bears have done on defense and the way they've just absolutely dominated. Khalil Mack is the difference here. And I'm going to bet on Kirk Cousins throwing the pick at the inopportune moment. That's going to be the difference.
Yep. Thomas, I don't know if you told me to drink another one, but I will. You jackass.
And Nathan is right. Mac and cheese, man. You're not a jackass, Thomas. We love you, man. Also, Nathan says Chicago's defense is really effing good, man. He doesn't see it happening for a minute. It's a good thing that defense is as good as they are, because anything less, I think this team is really, really struggling with the way the offense has started. Let's talk about our last game before we get invaded here.
Jacksonville Jaguars go on the road to the Denver Broncos, that Mile High Stadium, which is a tough place to play. Does Gardner Minshew show himself another week of positive stats?
Are you trying to kill me?
Something you don't like.
Are you trying to kill me? Because right now you're trying to bury me.
Can it happen?
The Gardner Minshew thing. Yeah, and I think it's going to happen. I think the Jaguars are going to have a decent game. They're going to put up yardage against a defense that's not as good as it used to be. And everyone's going to talk about how amazing of a quarterback he is. We're going to kiss his ass because he's a quirky dude who acts like... I almost lost it there. Let me keep it under control. He acts like an idiot.
Shark.
Okay, whatever. He's doing all kinds of dumb
pet a shark?
stuff. Yeah, actually. And you know what? I've been to SeaWorld, okay? I've pet a shark. I've pet, what do you call them? Stingrays.
Have you pet a shark in the wild?
No, I haven't done that.
All right. Well,
I also haven't hammered my hand because I'm an idiot and have decided that's a good thing. We're falling in love with the story of Gardner Minshew. We're not falling in love with the 200 yards passing of Gardner Minshew. He'll do it again. He'll put up 240 yards against a defense that used to be good but isn't anymore. And we're going to be talking about how Gardner Minshew's a great quarterback. Except for me. I'm going to be saying he's throwing 200 yards and the defense is bailing his ass out every week. This is about Jacksonville's defense. This is about Jalen Ramsey, the cancer, not playing in this game. I think they're better off without him. I think the Broncos can't find their ass with both hands. I'm going to slow down. I'm not going to swear anymore. I think that the Broncos can't figure out what they're doing offensively, and that's going to be a struggle in this game. I think we're going to give all the credit to Gardner Minshew because it's a fun story. I don't think we're going to give the credit to Gardner Minshew because he's that good of a player. I think eventually this crashes down to earth, and God, I can't wait for that to happen. But it won't happen this week. I think the Jaguars win.
Yeah, I think Jaguars win this game, and I think Gardner Minshew's going to throw for about 250 yards and 3 touchdowns with 0 picks, and Jake's going to be eating his words because Minshew has another great
Let's make a beer bet. Let's make a beer bet. How many yards does he throw?
250.
How many interceptions?
0.
Okay, so here's my thing. He's going to throw a pick.
1.
And he'll go less than 250. But we have to find a way. One more bet to decide the tiebreaker.
I think
we'll do the parlay here. 3 touchdowns. I'll take less than 3 touchdowns.
All right.
All right?
But
so you have to win 2 out of the 3.
2 out of 3.
2 out of 3.
So
if he throws over 250,
0 picks, 3 touchdowns, and you got under 250,
at least 1 pick, and less than 3 picks, and less than 3 touchdowns. Beer bet it is.
Look, it is.
Gardner Minshew's not throwing that to any of these Jacksonville receivers. Gardner Minshew's not throwing that to any of Atlanta's receivers or the Vikings receivers. He's not that good of a quarterback. His 2 big plays last week against the Titans were jump balls that Malcolm Butler, surprise, didn't come down with, that should have been intercepted. I'll take that. Again, there's a chance I lose this beer bet, but at the end of the day, I think I'm still right on Gardner Minshew, and everyone's ready. It's the fun story, right? It's fun to talk about. We were talking about Baker Mayfield like that. We've been talking about Johnny Manziel like that. And then when they start playing really bad and they start losing games, we're like, whoa, this guy's not even good anymore.
I never said that about Manziel.
Everybody did.
I'm still on the Baker Mayfield train, but I agree. Yeah,
it's the same kind of thing. I'm kind of with the comments here. Steven's saying 21 to. I'm not with the comments here. Steven's saying 21-10 Denver. Is Joe Flacco scoring 21 points against this Jacksonville defense, who now looks like they're good?
He also says Denver's defense is gonna show up. Minshew under 200 yards and 2 touchdowns.
I hope he's right.
2 interceptions.
I hope he's right because that means you're buying me a beer.
Yeah, well, throw it in the pile.
Yeah, exactly. You're so far about. No, I'm kidding. Look, I look at this. Thomas is saying Baltimore is a beast, and he's a who-day. Baltimore's looking good, man. I know you're a Bengals fan. Tough sledding to be a Bengals fan in that AFC North, because eventually you think Roethlisberger's going to come back, the Steelers are going to look good, the Browns are looking good, the Ravens are looking good, or the Browns should be looking good.
Ian's saying, Jacob, you're going to lose 2 beer bets this week. Sorry, brother.
Dude, I'm loving my beer bets here. I love like I get the Chiefs versus Lions. All the Chiefs have to do is beat the Lions, and I get a beer there. And then all I have to do is fade Gardner Minshew having an amazing week against a defense that still has a little bit of talent on it. I think this is with Jacksonville's offense. I'm about to be drinking good this week, boys. That's all I can say. I'm about to be having a hell of a week. All right, Drew, we'll get out of here.
All right, guys. Thank you for all your likes, comments, and shares. It means the world to us. I know I always say that in every episode, in and out, but I don't. We both mean it to the very fullest. You guys are everything about Sports Around the Bar. It would not be the same without you. We appreciate everything you do, but we do want to appreciate everyone that commented during our live show. That's Chris, Cody, Martavius, Ian, Eddie, Steven, Justin, Jordan, Jose, Jacob, Nathan, Chris, Rob, Sandy, Jonathan, Thomas, Richard, Blaze, Jeffrey, Luke, Christopher, Austin. You guys are all awesome. Thank you so much.
Did I comment on the show?
No,
Did I have a comment or two?
It's a different Jacob.
I know. I was a joke. All right. Anyway, tough crowd, tough room. We'll be back on Sunday in between the afternoon games and Sunday Night Football. Hopefully we catch you guys there. It'll be a blast. We love talking about the action while it's there.
Thomas, get high anytime you want. We're jealous because it's not legal in this state. Our college...
It's not legal in Cincinnati either, I'm pretty sure, but I don't know. You do you, Thomas.
Our college football night is Wednesday night. So check out our last episode. They talked about college football.
I don't want to talk about Ohio State. I just don't want to do it. All right, I picked Michigan and I was 100% wrong.
Away, buddy.
Exactly.
All
you
right,
get to rub that in my face on Wednesdays. I'm glad you're an Ohio State fan. I hope it works out for you. That's it. Let's get out of here, Drew. I got some more beer to drink, guys. It was a great show. Thank you so much. We'll be back on Sunday again, 6:45 Central, 7:45 Eastern, in between that Sunday afternoon game and that Sunday night game to talk about everything going on in the NFL. So for Sports Around the Bar, I am Jake, your bartender. This is Drew. We will be back, and we hope to see you there on Sunday.
See ya.